Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Variant Cast. I'm here with the only man that prefers a good rad roach meal over a stim pack. Questionable, but love them all the same. How you doing today, Trent?
Doing good. Just really just trying to get anything I can get my hands on in this post-apocalyptic wasteland because we're living a post-Fallout world on that just came out on Amazon. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk about it.
Yeah, so we're going to be going all through it. But don't worry if you have no idea about Fallout, if you have no idea what the series is, if you're not even sure you want to watch it, we're going to be talking about how this series came to be. And we may live in a capitalist society. It is currently not post-apocalyptic, though. So we're only about halfway there. But, give it time, and I'm sure we'll get there with the right moxie behind it.
Yep, because war never changes.
War never changes, as they tend to remind you when it comes to this series. So for anyone that doesn't know, which I assume everyone knows at this point, Fallout's a video game. It started as a video game by Interplay. Interplay was this, pretty small RPG dev kind of studio back in the day. They existed till about 2004 when they got bought by Bethesda. So fun times. So they made the first two Fallout games, and they did the majority of the world building. That world being a post-apocalyptic, pretty much governed by a company, if not at all. Most of the wasteland is completely wild and lawless, but there are these vaults that are supposed to be bastions of human civilization. However, as we see more often than not, Vault Tech was using these vaults to do things that maybe weren't ideal. And it kind of comes down to nobody has your best interest at heart. No matter what, the government or the person above you is always going to be doing something slimy, and you as an individual are going to have to make the right choices if you want to hopefully make the world a better place. But as we see throughout the first Fallout, the second Fallout, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, and I'm sure any spin-off story that has ever been done, more often than not, bad stuff happens. So Trent, you're a newer fan to the Fallout series. I think I started getting into it when I was like 8 years old. Back in 2008, being a turn of the millennium baby. So, was your first game Fallout 4?
Yeah, so I really started getting into video games in like high school. I didn't really get into video games like that until high school. So yeah, Fallout 4 was my first video game, and I instantly fell in love with the world, and Bethesda games in general made me go play Fallout after, or maybe go play Skyrim after. But yeah, Fallout in particular, like I just really loved the combat in Fallout 4, and like it's pretty much got everything you want in a post-apocalyptic world. It's got like your zombie types, your different clans, your different mutated creatures that can either work with you or you can you kill. But and there's also the there's also the skill tree like thing that that was new to me when I started playing it. So yeah, just a bunch of different aspects to the game that I thought were really cool, and so I was definitely excited when I heard that they were making a TV show.
Yeah, I think this series in particular, because like at the end of the day, Skyrim is just some basic fantasy story with fantasy elements. This one really is a bit more unique in the sense that it's a pretty standard setup of post-apocalyptic world, but it's what they do with that setup that does differentiate them. Like you're saying, the special stats are something that has remained consistent throughout the entire series and has real weight on the world, even though it should just be like skill points, like for an RPG, but it's something that's real and tangible, which I think is cool. I think a lot of the wacky inventions and the way the timeline kind of split when it came to, I believe it was like right after World War II, and they kind of introduced atomic energy and everything was progressing much faster. And then I believe the bombs dropped in like the 60s. It's like the whole thing is like, oh, if the Cold War actually happened, but it was really fantasized in a way. And that's how they got to where they are, and that's how Vault-Tec grew into the empire that it is, because they went ahead and monopolized basically everything they could before those bombs got dropped. And we'll get into some of the big lore that happens towards the end of the series. But just kind of going through the rest of the series, once it got bought by Bethesda, it went from kind of a niche little game that only really hardcore PC gamers knew about. You had to have a decent PC, an actual gaming PC, which in the early 2000s was not a thing, really. So the only people that played it were, gamers. Real gamers played Fallout. So when it got bought by, Bethesda, and they turned it into a game that was released on consoles that was quote unquote a first-person shooter with Fallout 3, there was a bit of backlash from the initial hardcore fans that they took this game and they went off with it. But I think what Bethesda did is admirable. They took a game design that was a top-down strategy game that basically disappeared for 20 years until Baldur's Gate brought it back. But I'm being hyperbolic there. I'm sure there's plenty of other top-down RPGs that are very, very popular. I'm sorry, I don't mean to come at you there. But when it comes to Bethesda's era of Fallout, you can look at it negatively, saying they just turned it into another like Elder Scrolls kind of thing. But I think that's fine with how they went about it and how much care they've put into this product. And it shows with how they went into Fallout 4, the settlement building, which some could discount as a, kind of trying to capitalize on like the Minecraft wave of base building, but it's also something that I think fits in the universe really well. So you have this franchise that was started by one company, was then bought, and then has kind of morphed into something else while keeping the original idea. And I think we're on the next evolution of this, because we went from it being something that gamers only knew about to then something that was part of the larger consciousness, but still very much video game. But now we are in the era of this is a franchise. This is a franchise spanning two different forms of medias. Yeah. Look at that.
Pretty crazy.
Look at who would have thought back in 1997 that we'd be here. But we are here, and this show was picked up by Amazon, produced by a few different production companies, but maybe the most notable is Jonathan Nolan's production company, and only reason he's really that notable of a person is that last name.
Yeah, he's Christopher Nolan's brother.
Yeah,
which he's from the other side of the pond apparently, because he's got an American accent.
Yeah, so it looks like he was. I mean, I'm just looking at this. He went to school in like Washington D.C., so maybe he just.
I think Christopher Nolan went to boarding school, so he got shipped off to England or whatever, and then they both grew up with different parents, so they just ended up with two different accents, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah, and he kind of is the directorial vision of this thing. He directs the first 2 episodes as well as the last episode. So if you're ever trying to figure out who the main director of a TV show is, if they direct the first and last episode, pretty good chance it's them. But I think he has really positioned himself here after releasing this series to, if he wants to, be a bit more of a director because he's
Yeah,
never directed a movie.
for sure. I think that I don't know if he directed any of Westworld, but I know he was very involved with the at least the storytelling aspect of that.
He
He
did
was a main writer of it. Okay, so I feel like he has proven himself a little bit on Westworld, but I feel like this show definitely um, captured a lot of attention from the wider audience, and I'm excited to see what he does next.
Yeah. And just to kind of go through the other directors, there was a few that did 2 episodes. So Frederick Toy, he has done The Boys, which you definitely see a lot of Boys influence on this show, it being from Amazon, as well as, you know, some shared directors. I think that makes sense. And then Claire Kilner, who other part of the production company there. She did House of Dragons and The Alienist, as well as Gen V, did an episode of Gen V. So there's a bunch of boys influence all over this, and I say that in all the best ways. And then the last one was Wayne Yip, who did 4 episodes of Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. So really, there was, quite a bit of talent, especially when we're talking about TV show directors with this series. And it definitely shows in the first episode where, I had no idea what to expect. I didn't really follow this release. While I am a pretty big fan of Fallout, I hadn't really played any of it. It hadn't been on my mind. When I heard they were making a series, I was concerned just because, like, video game adaptations. Also, Fallout requires a massive budget. Are they going to be able to pull this off on whatever TV show streaming budget they get? Is it going to look cheap? Is it going to look, bland? I'd say my biggest concern was that they were going to adapt Fallout into something that was a bit cheaper to produce, meaning
Definitely.
we would lose some of those more fantastical elements.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, in terms of just talking broad adaptation and faithfulness to the adaptation, I'd say it's pretty 1-to-1.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's a reality where this gets picked up by like the CW, and we get a whole show of like a suit that doesn't even really look like the jumpsuit from the games, and he's walking around just a barren wasteland with like terrible CGI monsters, and
Yeah.
that just isn't this. Like, they took a lot of the like aspects of the game and expanded upon them, and like showed them in different ways that we hadn't really seen before, which I think is the best way to go about making an adaptation to a series like this.
Yeah, I agree. I like that you said the CW bit. The entire time I was thinking of, like, if they made a Fallout movie in like 2008, they definitely would be like, "Oh, the jumpsuit looks silly. Let's make it like a darker navy blue and give it kind of like a utility form or something
Yeah.
like that." It'd be this weird amalgamation of what a vault suit should be and then what the writers think is more believable and less silly. They don't do that. They lean into everything that is silly. They treat some of it as silly as it is, and some of it is treated very seriously,
Yeah.
like it should be in the world. And I think they just did an amazing job. I don't know if how many of these people have played Fallout,
Mm-hmm.
but someone in charge definitely had played Fallout.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Nolan said that like Fallout was like his favorite video game of the early 2000s. He was like, yeah, this was like the main game that I played, uh and so that's the reason why he wanted to do it so much. I'm pretty sure he pitched it to Todd Howard or something. He said that he met with Todd Howard, and then he walked out of that meeting like with like a loose concept of doing a Fallout TV series. So I think that that's really cool. And yeah, I just think that they did a really good job of using the world to um, do things that you're not able to do in the video games, like tell stories from different people's perspectives, or doing like the flashback scenes of what we'll get into in spoilers. But yeah, just all of that I felt like was done really well and really respectively.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I definitely agree, and I think we're getting that's the biggest thing with video game adaptations, right? The reason video games adaptations used to suck, I feel, is because nobody played the games, and now we have directors like uh, Jonathan here who like grew up with the grew up playing these games, and it's normal. It's not seen anymore as a child's hobby. So
Yeah.
I think the sky's the limit for the Fallout series. Like
Mm-hmm.
I could see a movie. I could see a whole multitude of things. I think we're gonna get multiple seasons of this, and
Oh
we'll
yeah.
talk more about that later. But yeah, it's shaping up like Bethesda and Amazon have another hit on their hands that is going to be marketable and also going to move some merch, because Fallout has always been able to move some merch in ways things like The Boys and Invincible don't. That I think Amazon is really, really excited about what they have cooking up here.
Definitely. I think that there's definitely like the numbers of people playing Fallout definitely skyrocketed after this release. And
Yeah, that's me.
yeah. And I definitely downloaded it too. I'm gonna give it another run through. But I think that like the best way to compare it is like comparing it to like The Last of Us, because The Last of Us was really true. It was true to the story that I was telling in the video game, but it expanded, like I've been saying, it expanded on the elements that we could have seen more of that it couldn't tell in the video game. But with this, it takes like all of those elements but doesn't tell anything that's been told from the video games, which I think is a really smart thing to do, because it allows you to like operate within the limits of doing that, but also, like you said, the sky's the limit to the stories that they can tell, it feels like.
Yeah, I think it's more difficult, right? Because while it is a bit more freeing that you get to tell your own story and you don't have to follow a story, you also have to come up with something that makes sense in universe. And this wasn't some side story. This is the story they tell has major implications on the Fallout universe, the future of Fallout, and I think it's going to tie into the games, and I'll get a bit more into that a bit later on. But kind of speaking a bit more broadly about the quality of the show, I was very surprised at the acting, at the performances that we got, at the effects, and overall, just the quality of the show. Without getting into spoilers, it is one of the, I think this is one of the marquee shows of this year that people are talking about it, and for good reason. It is a really, really solid season of television. The way it was released, it was all in one bunch, but it was really hard to put down. Each episode about 45 minutes to an hour, and you would finish it and you'd really want to watch that next one.
Yeah.
Everything flowed really well. The story is tight and interesting and intriguing, and twists and turns around every corner. What did you think just about the overall quality of the script and kind of how they were able to portray the story they were wanting to tell there?
No, yeah, I thought that the story was really good. Uh, there was one character in particular that I felt like got written. They were written less and less good as the series went on. But other than that, I thought that it was a really strong story. It felt very similar to the stories that we had already heard, or that we've already seen in the Fallout universe, I felt like. But I feel like that's to expect. But yeah, the makeup and everything, and I love my guy Walton Goggins, and he was absolutely amazing as the ghoul. And the girl that played Lucy absolutely killed it. and yeah, I don't have or I can't say enough good things about the acting in this. I feel like.
Yeah. And let's kind of get into some of those actors here before we get into some plot spoilers. We'll talk about a few character spoilers. So this is officially the end of the safe zone. So if we've convinced you to watch the show, then go ahead and watch it, come back here and enjoy the rest of the pod. But if you either don't care or you've already seen it, you are safe. And we're going to go ahead and start talking about some actual characters. So
Yep.
Walton Goggins, who you are a big fan of, and coming into this, I'm fairly familiar with him. He voices Cecil in Invincible and all that great stuff, but he put on an absolute performance, basically stole every scene that he was in. The makeup for the ghoul looked good, and he had to, portray a lot of emotions and probably had the most complex story of anyone when you talk about like their character arc from start to finish. And I think he did a spectacular job. And like I said, I love the makeup.
Yeah, he was almost playing two characters. Like he like we were watching him play two separate characters the whole time, but it really did feel like it was like it was the thing that connected the past to the present. And I thought that, like you said, he stole every scene that he was in. And anytime he was interacting with somebody else, I just, I couldn't help but smile because, just love that man.
Yeah, it was strange because even though like midway through the season, he's basically, torturing the main character.
Yeah.
You still don't hate him. I don't know what it is about just the way he does things. I'm just like, still like, he's one of the heroes. And I think you make a good point. Like he is playing the same character, but he's playing the same character 250 plus years apart, where so much has happened, and he does a really good job, especially like in the quote present, versus like the scenes that he's in the past. And like, you can audibly like hear a little bit of the pain and just the like overall like not caring, like so many scars have built on top of how he used to feel that he's so disconnected from it. But he has these little moments that, and it's kind of his character arc throughout the whole thing is remembering why he's still living, because he could, just give up and die at any point. He doesn't really love this wasteland, doesn't love the way he lives. Why does he keep going? And people keep asking him this. Why does he keep going? And pretty much every time it cuts back to his past and why does he keep going? And that's really the answer, is his family. And we get to kind of find that out at the end. That is the reason he is still kicking. That's the reason he's still trying. And throughout the flashbacks, it gets revealed like how instrumental he was and his family was in this whole thing. And really, really a cool character that had a lot to do, and he executed everything they needed him to do perfectly, I feel.
Yeah, no, the backstory scenes were really good. I thought that I didn't realize that before the show they had said that they were gonna tell the origin story of the Pit Boy, or like the Vault Tech guy.
Vault Boy.
Yes. Yeah. So like as soon as he showed up in like that first episode and was wearing the blue and yellow cowboy suit, I knew instantly. I was like, oh, this is the path that we're headed down. And it didn't disappoint. And like you said, it's very instrumental to like the overall Fallout universe. And the plot twists at the end, pretty crazy, pretty wild.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. We got a few more characters to go through, Trent. But yeah, I actually didn't put together that he was Vault Boy, or like until I thought back to the first scene where he didn't want to put the thumbs up.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't. He's like, that's your whole thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes a bit more sense. He's
Yeah.
Then the main character, who, Lucy McLean, played by Ella Purnell, who is, pretty decent actress. I hadn't seen her in anything before this. She was in Kick-Ass 2 as Dulce, and she apparently voiced someone in Invincible, that character being Jane, who was the archaeologist that walked into that tomb in the random scene in Invincible season 2 finale that didn't seem like it connected at all, and it's just setting up the start of season 3. Yeah, that was her. So cool.
Who isn't Invincible? I'll continue to ask.
And then she was also in Yellow Jackets, which is like this horror TV series. I didn't watch it, but I had a few friends that watched it and said she was pretty solid in it. So this seems to be her most high profile role, and I think she, dare I say, pretty iconic in this. From the okie dokie, which feels very marketable, to her entire look as being a vault dweller, an attitude of being a vault dweller, I think is pretty iconic, honestly.
Yeah, no, I thought that she did a solid job playing that part. Yeah, and yeah, especially the kind of oblivious, like when, like my favorite parts were when she would, I can't think of anything specific right now, but she would, just when she was just realizing, that the other vaults weren't like her vault, or when she was realizing that they're actually they actually were people up on the surface.
Basically piecing together the whole like secrecy behind Vault Tech and the vaults, like her piecing that together was extremely interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And her just constantly asking like, could you fill me in on the last 200 years, please?
Yeah. I got the first 300 years of American history, but I just don't understand what happened with the bombs fell. And it is interesting in that scene that you're referring to. She's talking to Maximus, who I don't have him up here, so just talking about his character real quick. I thought it was a fairly obvious, like, okay, he's going to be a bad guy by the end of this, is kind of how I felt when his friend gets their leg cut up, and he says, "Oh, is it bad that I was glad that it happened?" And I was like, okay, that is psychotic to say. Why would you ever say that? Yeah. I don't disagree with his behavior and actions he took towards Bill Burr. I don't think that was Bill Burr, but
no, it wasn't.
It was basically Bill Burr that he let die in the suit. I agreed with those actions. The guy was being a dick, and he got himself killed. And
it seemed like that was kind of like the setup, that they kind of like, it was almost meant to be that way, to where like a knight would die and then the squire would take over, and then like they would come back and then be like, oh yeah, I guess you got to be a knight now. Like it like, to me it seemed like that was kind of what was gonna happen eventually at some point, if not at that moment.
Yeah, definitely. Like this mission was, gonna be his, big moment there. But I think I definitely was surprised that it seemed like, this was gonna be a standard male lead and female lead fall for each other and live happily ever after. And I was weirdly rooting for it, because like it feels like it's been so long since we've had something like that. Every series wants to subvert expectations. Like, oh, you think the male lead and the female lead are going to get together at the end? Watch this. But at this point, we've been doing that for the last like 10 years, that I would actually be surprised if the male lead and the female lead got together at the end. Yeah. And that almost happens here, but not quite at the end. He basically, after the big final fight, he's just the last one standing. Not really, but like, he got the credit as the guy, and basically set up his season 2 character to be a villain of sorts. We'll have to see where they take that. but I think he did a good job. He hasn't really been in anything other than this Fallout series. His name is Aaron Moughton. Other than that, just a few like TV series. He was Travis and Disjointed, but nothing that I'm super familiar with. But from what I've seen, he's a solid actor, and well, I think he didn't get the most time to actually develop his character and his morals. I think he did a good job of kind of moving the plot along, and he wasn't offensive in any way.
Yeah, that was the character that I said I felt like got dumber as the season went on, just because I felt like he was. I felt like we were on path to have like a, I don't know, like a almost like what we could have had in the sequel trilogy of Finn being an ex stormtrooper. It kind of felt like it was almost headed down that road, but then it was like, but then towards the end, you know, he was just like, he just told Lucy to take the head, and then he just like had another head, and then when they showed up, he's like, wait, I thought it was the right head, and it was just like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get that. It definitely seemed like they were setting up a, you know, just a character for him, and he got to learn throughout that, oh, the way the Brotherhood does things is wrong. Because remember, he gets his squire, and it's the guy that treated him poorly, so he felt like he needed to treat him poorly. But then the guy's like sympathetic towards him, and it makes him like rethink everything. And I thought that was going to be the moment that he's like, wait, this Brotherhood thing's actually terrible, that they like pit us against each other like this, and it's not a Brotherhood at all. And I'm going to tell him, and we're going to, you know, do something together. It did feel like that's where it was going, and I think that would have been a bit cleaner of an arc for him. Instead, you do get a bit of whiplash as he goes back to the Brotherhood kind of thing and leads the charge, and then is kind of...
And it could very well be
ignited.
Like his season 2 arc could be, you know, him like secretly trying to not reform the Brotherhood, but try to be like a mole or something like that. But yeah, there was a point where, you know, Lucy told him that she would meet him in Vault 33 if like he ever wanted to see her again. And at that point, I just like couldn't really get a read. I couldn't really get a read on him. You know, I couldn't tell if he was on her side or if he was just trying to play along, you know? So.
Yeah, it definitely feels like setting up for season 2. So I'll wait a little bit to judge it, but I think that's probably the one that I would have changed if it was like, say this was a movie. Like his story arc would be the one that I would change. However, it's not a movie, it's a series, so we got to see how that plays out. His squire, though, he, I think, killed it, and I think we know how his story is going to play out. Johnny Pemberton? Yeah, Johnny Pemberton, he played, who was it? Thaddeus in Fallout. So that is Bo off Superstore, or he was the Baskin Robbins employee in Ant-Man, if that's where you know him from.
Yeah, you've probably seen him in at least 3 shows that you've watched, I feel like.
Yeah. He's also Eternal because he's 42 years old, and he exclusively plays... Yeah, he's 42 years old.
That is crazy.
He exclusively plays characters in their early 20s to late teens. You gotta wonder when the well is gonna run up. But currently his skin looks great, and he is thriving as a 42-year-old man born in 1981 in Rochester, Minnesota. So dude is looking great. So props to him for that. Maybe might be the first 50-year-old to play a high schooler in a show.
Yeah, I think he's got Paul Rudd beat somehow.
You never know what it's going to take, like a turn though. So you gotta wait. And his character is is interesting. It's he's kind of the stereotypical bully at the beginning, and then you kind of get the sympathetic, like, oh, I was the one that was getting bullied, and then it was you, and the way this works, I was really hoping someone else would come in so we could just bully them together. Like, I'm sorry, man. It sucks that it happened. And then he actually turns on him, which I can understand why he turned on him, because he took so long to tell him. I think if he told him like shortly after that first talk, maybe things are different. Probably not. It seems like he was pretty deep in with the Brotherhood. However, his leg is absolutely messed up, and he needed to get that fixed. So he goes to the guy that's been trying to sell all these serums to grow people's feet back, and turns out he's not a con man. He's just turning people into ghouls.
Yeah.
So that's what happens with the Thaddeus character, is he gets turned into a ghoul.
Yeah, we got a pretty cool effect of his mangled foot that's in like 4 pieces, all coming back together, and that was pretty gruesome. And yeah, he's just like the beginning parts of becoming a ghoul. So
yeah, so I imagine we'll see him in season 2 with a bit more makeup. And I'm happy that this character's sticking around. I really thought we're just going to kill him off towards the end. But doesn't happen. So then, before we had Rico Suave, aka, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Moses? There's an I before the S, so I'm not sure. But he played Rico Suave in Hannah Montana, which is what I will forever know him from. But he has been in other stuff like Igor, or not Igor. He was Igor in King of Staten Island, as well as Ender's Game and The Kings of the Summer. So he's definitely broken out of that. But for our generation, he'll forever be Rico Suave. But I think as Norm McLean, he did a good job.
No, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by his performance. I thought that he did a good job of carrying those scenes with the underground dwellers, and his whole arc under there I thought was interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of hard to judge his character. He's only in 6 of the 8 episodes, which is a decent amount, but didn't get the most time in the episode. It feels like season 2, really, he is going to get more time, and we're going to see if he makes the right decisions or not, or if he's going to kind of fall to, what his dad fell to. And there's more questions around that, but I also wanted to, before we move off characters, wanted to give a shout out to Annabelle O'Hagan, who played Stephanie, who was the pregnant woman that got her... got her eye forked in the first episode. I wanted to give her a shout out because this is like the first time she's ever been in anything. She was in a short. She was in like one episode of Law and Order, a bunch of like just one-off episodes of TV series. It's the first time she's even a recurring character ever, and I think she did a really good job as Stephanie. She's a little off kilter and ends up towards the end becoming the overseer of the new vault. So we'll see what happens to her. Probably not good things, but in terms of the actress, we're hoping good things happens to her. So good on her.
No, yeah, she was really good. You could have told me that she was like a background character in 10 movies, and I could have believed you because she was really good.
Yeah. No, she hasn't done anything. One of her known for doesn't even have an IMDb page. That's how you know it is the depths. But that is the character recap, character and actor recap there. Let's kind of just talk some, broad spoilers here. This show made some huge revelations for the Fallout universe. As I said, this universe is built on atomic power, but the big MacGuffin of this series is a head, and included in that head is basically eternal energy to power the entire world forever cleanly somehow. I don't know how, it just does. And that's what they need. And that's what everybody's after, because it's in his head. And that's a pretty big revelation that it exists, and it falls into the hands of Moldover by the end of the season, and it shows her just completely powering a city with ease.
Yeah, that and Vault-Tec dropping the bombs so that people couldn't get their hands on that, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, maybe something I'll look into, but Vault-Tec dropping the bombs is first off, this is absolutely canon to like the Fallout universe that we play. So they talked with the creators. They said, okay, you just can't contradict the ending of other games, and they were involved in this process. So this is a revelation that, you know, it's always been kind of theorized, if it wasn't confirmed before this, that Vault-Tec had something to do with the bombs, but them being the ones would definitely be shock to me that they essentially wiped out humanity so that they could send humanity into vaults and experiment on them. We already knew the experimenting thing, but this is some new type of evil from Vault-Tec here.
Yeah, no, that was definitely shocking. And yeah, the whole plot of him like bugging his wife's Pip-Boy to listen into their conversations, that was all really well done. And yeah, it was just a really good twist to finish off the season, I felt like.
Yeah, no. And like just hearing them kind of explain the setup for, you know, Vault-Tec of, hey, we're going to experiment whatever you want to do. Like, you take 5 vaults, I'll take 5 vaults, and just do something wacky, and let's see what happens. And they definitely did some wacky stuff. You know, one vault is trying to breed people with, you know, radiation monsters to create. I don't even know how that works. How do you like breed a human with an axolotl? Don't understand, but they're doing it. They're making cyclones, which is cool, I guess. I don't really understand what they're trying to do there.
Yeah, and then so the gulpers or whatever they're called, those were originally from the lab. So does that mean that all of the creatures on the surface came from labs under the surface?
Well, it's insinuated that they, I think, went out and got the gulp.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah, so it existed, and then they were like, yo, that thing would make a dope father for our child. So, like, go get that thing, and we're going to, like, impregnate a woman with it. I still don't understand how that works, but, you know, I'm suspension of disbelief on the insemination for a second. I still don't understand what the goal is. Maybe to make humans more resistant to radiation. That could be a thought. I thought we might get a super mutant because of that, but they didn't show any super mutants. Am I correct in that? No super mutants?
Nope, I don't believe they did.
Okay. Which is interesting. Because that is kind of
some people who were harvesting organs using a robot and turning people into ghouls. So there was a girl, or like a woman, who was sitting there in a box just repeating her name because she didn't want to be totally lost into being a ghoul. I thought that was an interesting concept.
Yeah, no, I think that was really cool for like because that's always been a question of mine. I've never really looked into it, but I always assumed that a feral ghoul was just a ghoul that the radiation had like got into their brain or something like that. But they kind of you know, lay it out a bit more simple in this show, and it's like he takes like this some sort of drug to keep himself from going feral, and as they're going feral, they do kind of have to like remind themselves. So you hear one of his friends screaming, like, I forget what his name was, but he's like, "My name is," and he's like screaming it, trying to keep himself sane and keep himself in control of his own body.
Yeah.
So that then the payoff for that is us kind of knowing that feral ghouls are about to attack. But at the end of the day, it kind of worked out well for her because the ghouls just killed the guys running the organ harvesting and then died. So it was
they weren't even really
big
doing
W.
anything. Like,
Yeah.
somebody else is just going to come by, fix that robot, and then just continue doing that same thing. I feel like.
Yeah,
that's what happened. That's what my like theory is to how they got there is they just like showed up, killed the person, and then was just like, all right, let's just chill here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it probably will just do it again. But hey, that's the world we live in, or the world they live in.
Yep.
And then there were, a few other big kind of revelations. I think the biggest one for me is that, people can live forever and not look like ghouls, because it is revealed that our hero, who I'm trying to remember her first name, Lucy McLean, it's revealed that her father that she's been trying to save throughout the entirety of the show is been alive since the bombs fell, and he was actually in that boardroom where they were pitching ideas of how they were going to destroy the world. Well, not destroy it, but so how does he do that? How does he look that way? How is he still alive? Is he a synth?
He could be.
I don't think he could. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, he could have been like replaced at some. He could have been like replaced at some point. I guess,
or like he uploaded his brain.
He could have like. Did they say that he had actually been alive those 200 years, or could he have been frozen?
He could have been frozen. He absolutely could have. So maybe it's that. Maybe he freezes himself, comes out for a bit, and then he freezes himself again. But like, he's definitely been unfrozen for Lucy's whole life.
Yeah.
But he hasn't aged. We're presuming she's 18 at the youngest. He hasn't aged 18 years. Has he? I guess maybe he has aged 18 years. Maybe he got woken up like 18 years ago, had Lucy with some woman that was born after, and then that's where we're at. I guess that's another question going into season 2 is how is he still alive? Is it by other means, or did he just freeze himself and it's that simple?
Yeah, so now he's got some power armor on, and he's trekking through the desert. But yeah, it'll be. I think that they'll definitely explain that since he wasn't a big part of this season. Like the actor wasn't in it that much. I feel like he'll play a bigger part in the next season.
Well, he's probably going to Vault 31, you'd assume, because that's where that brain Roomba is. Because it's revealed no one actually lives in Vault 31. It's
was
just
that him at the very end that was
brain
outside of New Vegas, or was that was the ghoul?
I'm not sure. No idea. Didn't catch the New Vegas bit.
I also thought that the guy who took the power core from the dude who he healed the leg, I thought he was gonna hike back to that vault and pick up that other power armor that the dude left there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Because that other power armor is just out there, just without a power core in it.
It's just chilling. Maybe that will be like kind of a thing. He just like stumbles upon it. It's like, oh, I got this power core. You're referring to the guy that like was fornicating with chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah. What interesting character arc that guy. Well, not really a character arc. It's just him going about his day. But interesting character that guy is.
But you see him in the beginning, and then you're like, oh, this guy's definitely like a snake oil salesman. And then then he shows up later, and he actually heals that guy's foot. So I thought that was a nice little callback.
Yeah, no, we got serums that'll regrow your foot. And now thinking back to it, the guy's only objective was to make it to Moldover. He didn't care if he was alive or not, so he should have just taken the serum and started becoming a ghoul. Because, like, who cares at that point?
Yeah.
So he should have just taken the foot regrowth serum, and it would have been a whole lot more painful. Wouldn't have had to even take cyanide, man. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I really enjoyed in the show was the ghoul's gun, the sound effects. Or I guess the sound design in general, but the sound of the gun, that like ba-boom, ba-boom, that was right on.
Yeah, a lot of things were right on. But I also love just any scene that he was in. It felt really gunslinger. Felt like they were kind of calling back to his origins of a gunslinging movie star, and he kind of moves like that. He has that same swagger to him, and I think it's really cool. I really liked the scene of him when he's doing all the drugs in the, place that was all cleared out by the feral ghouls. He sits down and he looks at it. It's one of his old movies, and he puts it in and watches it, and like the emotion in his eyes, and like the emotion while watching it. And it's I was just thinking, like, what a this is such a strange circumstance that this ghoul is watching a movie that he starred in 250 years before, but I feel the emotional weight, and it's something that could only exist under this context.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really using the world and the world building to its maximum to get extra emotional weight out of something that should have really been kind of just a silly little point, but it was at that point of watching that show that he kind of remembered who he was and why he is still wandering the wasteland all these years later.
Yeah, no, I thought that. Yeah, that scene was really good, and I feel like that's not much more we can say about it.
Yeah, we said everything has major implications. There was a bit of, obviously, season 2 is going to happen. This is an absolute success, but before season 1 even dropped, the state of California issued a credit to the production company behind this of $25 million if they film their next season in California, which kind of interesting. This wasn't filmed in California. Apparently it was filmed in New York, amongst a few other locations. But, few things that comes to mind with that is, one, the state of California really just be throwing money away, like $25 million, just so they film Fallout there. Seems like a complete misuse of money when there's probably a school district that could use that, but that's above my pay grade. Point being is we're probably going to get a season 2, and it's probably going to have a bit different of a feel and look being actually filmed in California. So that's a bit interesting there. And I guess Todd Howard told them they could do whatever they want as long as they don't mess around with like San Francisco or any of the endings of the games. So that was kind of their direction, and also makes you think Fallout 6 is probably going to be in San Francisco.
Definitely.
So, yeah. It would be interesting because now we're kind of in a wasteland world that has infinite power. A Fallout game kind of set in those confines of, oh, power is not an issue. There's big cities now. The issue is now everyone vying for control or something like that. Make a bit different of a Fallout game with that if they decide they want to go that route. But obviously, there being an infinite power source that solves everything is a bit of a plot hole. So we'll see how they resolve that either in the second season or in Fallout 6, you know?
Yeah.
But that's enough Fallout. We got a little bit more show for y'all if you did stick around for this bit. We're going to be watching the trailer that just dropped a couple days ago by Warner Bros. Of Joker Folie à Deux. Did I say that right? Folie à Deux?
Yep. Nailed it.
Let's go. All right. So we're going to go ahead and give this a watch. We're going to be talking through it like our trailer reactions normally go. But I don't really know anything about this other than Lady Gaga is in it.
You've seen Joker 1, right, Ty?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready to hit that play button.
All right, we're good. Go ahead. Penguin.
Okay.
You got a joke for us today?
We still in the world of only blue and yellow.
Yep.
In the only two colors that exist.
Fractures within ourselves.
I'm nobody. I haven't done anything with my life like you have.
Okay. So half this movie is just going to be like in their head, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like there's going to be like a world built in their head.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I heard there's no original songs,
Yeah.
which we may have talked about that on the pod. Is where I probably heard it.
I think we did. I think we did talk about it last week.
Okay. That was an interesting scene.
Tell us what's changed.
Harley Quinn fit.
I'll tell you what's changed.
Got the stair dancing.
That's what we should be talking about.
Okay, this looks sick.
Yeah, honestly, this
Like-
sold me more than Joker 1.
I want to see the real you.
Yeah, I was planning on hating on this. I really was.
I do think that
Like,
it's
not
an interesting
hating,
concept. I did not think that we needed a Joker 2 when it was announced.
Yeah.
But seeing this, I think that it's a natural progression after the first movie of like, you know, I'm alone, somebody else that also feels alone. Like that's the one thing that we could connect about. I think that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, I think the concept is interesting. I also think the concept of a musical prison breakout starring Joker is an awesome idea. Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a prison breakout, but it's a musical and they're insane. And like, he looked actually insane, not like edgy insane.
Mhm.
Like, this looked really, really solid. And there's a lot going against this movie. The title, for one, Joker Folie à Deux, like that's a tough title to market. It just is here in the land of red, white, and blue, where we make money for movies. But I think it's cool. It's different, and this is something coming out of Warner Bros. That is different. And after a bit of like Blue Beetle, which felt while not bad, just very samey to the industry. This is something cool, and I hope they continue to go in the direction of like these are basically Elseworld stories, you know.
Yeah.
How DC Comics had their main line, but then they had their Elseworlds comics, which would oftentimes sell really well because they'd have a really eye-catching comic cover, like, you know, communist Superman, like that catches your eye, you know. And this, little less eye-catching, but in terms of like the cinema of it all, it is eye-catching, and I'm excited to see this.
It seems to be less like, oh, look at this edgy dude who doesn't fit into the world, and more like it has an actual concept behind it that feels like it's, like you said, original, and I think that it looks shot really well. There's some shots that reminiscent of Bradley Cooper's Maestro. This looks much better of the theater scenes, but no, yeah, I think this looks really good.
And I mean the like lipstick on the glass that he moves over to, that's a cool shot. Like, that's an awesome shot. Almost so cool that I wouldn't have put it in the trailer, but it's kind of needed for the whole like it's Joker baby kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I get that. So I'm super excited to see this. I was excited just because it had Lady Gaga, and I am a surface level fan of Lady Gaga. She doesn't generally do movies, so it was interesting to me that she signed on for this, and the talent, Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix, like that.
Yeah, you know, like,
that's
they're
a movie.
Just act their ass off. If anything, the acting is going to be absolutely incredible in it, and it'll be interesting to see what songs they pick, if they'll go with the Lady Gaga song.
I know the joke. Yeah, the joke is Joker face. Joker face. I'd be interested to see if they do a Lady Gaga song, but if not, I could see a cover album actually doing well, because I was just thinking, like, why would you not want original songs? Like, original songs make you so much money. Like, this movie could bomb at the box office, but the original soundtrack could make it up because you have, you know, Joker and Lady Gaga. Like, that's enough to sell an album. But I think the vibe I got is that they're going to be older songs. So we're kind of already in the era
I guess it
of
is
popular
kind of a timepiece. Like the Joker itself seems kind of like a timepiece, so it makes sense that they go with older songs.
So like it's going to be songs that this generation probably isn't as familiar with, and they're going to be performed by Lady Gaga. Like it's still going to sell well, regardless if they're covers or not. I imagine they'll do a few songs that will be more popular, like on YouTube, than the songs they're based off. Like after the movie's all released and everything is kind of settled. So, looking good. Looks like Warner Bros. May not be a big financial hit, but I think it does better than maybe I was expecting, and kind of lands a little bit below the first Joker.
Yeah. I think that in terms of hype levels, I think that this got me more hyped than the first Joker movie. So we'll see how it is when it comes out.
The first Joker movie absolutely seemed like a joke to me, and that's not because of the quality of it or anything like that. It was just like you said, the theme of I'm an edgy guy in a society that doesn't understand me. I'm Joker baby. Like that just came off kind of cringy to me. But now that the character is a bit more established, and now we're kind of getting to play around in the world that first movie created, I do see the vision, and like you said, I'm on board with this now.
Yeah, 100%. So another trailer that came out this week that we can't see because it was released at CinemaCon because CinemaCon was this weekend. So there's a big panel of a bunch of different movie studios going up there and talking about their new release movies. So you had Disney go up there. They showed the new Planet of the Apes movie. They talked a little bit about Inside Out 2, new Alien series that they're releasing on Hulu, Moana 2, Mufasa the Lion King, the absolute banger that we talked about last week, and Captain America 4. So we got a little bit of our first hint of, I guess, what that's going to be about. So they showed apparently some footage at CinemaCon, and there's no I guess it's not coming out till February 14th, 2025. So they're still filming it right now. Apparently they're only a couple months into filming, but apparently it shows Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson meeting the new Thunderbolt Ross, who is Harrison Ford, who is now the president at the White House. They're meeting at the White House, and he asked if he can reunite the Avengers with a new Captain America, and essentially it's just a scene with him and Ross, and Ross looks different because the old actor died, and we got Harrison Ford now. He's got I think they released a picture, and he's got a buzz cut, so should be interesting to see Harrison Ford in this role. I guess it
the
says
president.
that and he's the president. Harrison Ford being the president. So it says we get a couple of different action set pieces. We see Sam getting attacked at the White House using a shield to block himself from multiple Secret Service agents trying to tase him. We see shots of Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres in action together. I guess that's the new Falcon, I'm assuming.
Right.
So Sam and Thunderbolt Ross in the Oval Office, where he says, "You're not Steve Rogers," and after a long pause, Sam says, "You're right, I'm not." And then we finally see Sam in his new white and blue Falcon America suit, Captain America suit.
Right.
So
yeah,
not very much info on that description, but good to know that it's actually happening, and that Harrison Ford is still kicking.
Yeah, 81 years old, so he's probably the most age accurate president that has been cast in a minute. Because I always kind of laugh at that when they cast some 50-year-old man as president, and I'm like, that's not how we do things anymore. You gotta have seen the 50s to understand America. And Harrison Ford has done that, so I'll be voting for Harrison Ford in November. As far as the actual, movie, I just don't have any. I can't have any feelings on it. I just have none. I'm trying to. I just have none. Apparently, you're saying there's a scene that they're in the White House and they get attacked by Secret Service, like they're enemies. Yeah. So the president invites him over, and I'm not trashing on the movie. This is a description of the trailer that I'm just like trying to, pull anything from here. So don't take this as actual criticism to the movie. But essentially the president invites him and then attacks him. So what did he say to like elicit that? Could be just a misunderstanding, or he could have said like, "Oh, with all due respect, I'm better off without America, but then you're Captain America." I don't know how to feel about this, because
maybe
Thunderbolts
says,
is that
like, I'm not gonna, like something. We can't get the Avengers back right now, and then he's like, I don't know. He gets upset at him for something. I don't know. Yeah, that.
Yeah,
it'll certainly be interesting to see what leads to that.
Which comes out first, Thunderbolts with an asterisk or Captain America?
So the other thing, I believe Captain America comes out and then Thunderbolts is a couple months after.
Okay. All right, that makes a little bit more sense. I'm just like, I was like imagining him as Red Hulk and then becoming president. Like that'd be such a strange like character arc. Like, oh, I'm the Red Hulk now. That's crazy, isn't it? Anyways, I'm the president now.
Yeah. And that was the main part of my campaign was Red Hulk.
Hey, it's worked before.
Thunderbolts also was talked about at CinemaCon. They revealed a new logo that just says Thunderbolts with an asterisk. And then, they said that we're not going to talk about the asterisk until after the movie comes out. So this has people speculating on whether it's the Dark Avengers, whether it's the Thunderbolts at all, or what. But very interesting choice to not only not give it a fake name like they used to do with like Captain America, the Serpent Society, but just put an asterisk and being like, yep, it's gonna change.
Wait until after the movie comes out, or after
they said
the
we're
first
not
trailer?
No, they said we're not gonna talk about it until after the movie comes out.
The Thunderbolts movie, or the Captain America movie.
The Thunderbolts movie.
So it's going to be released in theaters as Thunderbolts with an asterisk. Like that's going to be on the ticket stub.
I hope so.
That's insane. Marvel's Thunderbolts with an asterisk is wild. I was thinking maybe their asterisk is like they're keeping that because it's a spoiler for Captain America. Like maybe the Captain America movie is going to come out and it's going to have, big implications on America and the president becoming Red Hulk.
Maybe that's the case.
Maybe that's the case. I find it maybe the worst marketing idea of all time to not reveal the actual title until after the movie comes out. So
unless you act like it's like the Thunderbolts, or unless you act like it's one and then it has like a subtitle, like Dune technically
it's actually
wasn't
the Thunderbolts
Dune
in
Part
Deadpool
1 until after, until people saw it in the theaters and then saw it said Dune Part 1 and then they're like, oh, so I guess there is a Part 2.
Oh yeah, that's gonna get people lit when they find out that it's
Thunderbolts.
It's gonna be Thunderbolts Part 1 of 4, Book 1. Yeah, I don't know about that. Thunderbolts is the new punching bag project, I feel, of like things coming out that quote unquote nobody asked for. Which is a phrase that gets thrown around, like, who asked for this? I'm really excited to see Thunderbolts. My only problem is the idea of the Thunderbolts is a little watered down. We've had 2 Suicide Squad movies. The Guardians of the Galaxy have a similar vibe, but not even close, so I won't count it against that. But like in terms of like anti-hero superhero teams, you now have like The Boys, you have Invincible, which you have a lot of that same kind of stuff. The space of superheroes, but they're kind of bad, is been done a lot in the last like 7 years. So the idea of them just coming out with a Thunderbolt starring Agent America, what is his name?
U.S. Agent.
U.S. Agent, yeah. U.S. Agent, Black Widow's sister.
A lot of people that have the same power set, like the Red Guardian from Black Widow, Bucky. So all those people have very similar power stats.
Really, and it's just me. The person I was most excited to see was Ghost, who was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and unfortunately just didn't, get a really good arc there. And then they set it up like, oh, she's gonna be back, but then now she's never gonna be back. That was the most intriguing character in this team for me.
I think she is. Now, I think they confirmed that she is going to be back because she was on set and she had like a new suit.
Okay, then that's fine. But that's still the most intriguing character for me. Like I would have liked I don't know. I don't know, like
Baron Mordo,
something.
the dude who wanted to hunt down all the sorcerers and kill them from Doctor Strange. Like that would have been cool. Or just anybody from, I guess, Spider-Man. I guess they probably couldn't use a Spider-Man villain because then they'd have to throw a Sony title tag on that.
Right. I guess they've just used. I would have liked to see him, but at the end of the day, they don't have any good like villains, so
because they're gonna
have to elevate these somehow. Yeah. So I guess we don't need to spend too much time. We'll just wait and see, because really there's nothing to even speculate. All we have is an asterisk.
Yeah, that should be the.
But if you know,
movie, all we have is an asterisk.
But if you know what that asterisk means, tell us in the comment section below, or what you think it means. But I think that is that our show? I think that's our show.
That's it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other news. Apparently, quick update for my Wile E. Coyote fans. Apparently, that movie is still available. To be bought. Like they clarified. Warner Bros. Spokesperson, he came out and was like, "Yeah, no, we'll still sell it. We haven't deleted it yet. That was just a threat."
Just post a picture of finger hovering above delete button. It's not deleted yet.
but Batgirl is 100% deleted. No backups. Absolutely none. But I did want to read this past comment from Anthony Mackie on Tom Holland saying that he wouldn't have his own movie. He said, "I'm going to make sure that Marvel makes him come to the premiere. I'm going to make him sit next to me, and I'm going to make him watch the movie." So,
fun fact, I was actually in the room when Anthony Mackie and Tom Holland had that conversation.
How would you
at Ace Comic-Con?
How would you kind of explain the tension between the two? Do you think Anthony Mackie is going to physically force Tom Holland to watch the movie next to him?
Yes, I think that he will. I think that he's a man who will carry through with the bit. He even though like you could tell that he loves Tom Holland, he's still like to this day always like gives him shit when they're doing press tours together. Says like he's like, "Oh yeah, that kid's just so annoying. I just can't stand being around Tom Holland." So I think that he's gonna go through with a bit, and I look forward to seeing Tom Holland at the premiere and his reaction afterwards, because I'm sure that it would be funny even if they just had Tom Holland go on press with Anthony Mackie for Captain America 4, even though he's not in the movie, just so that he could see that there is a I mean, even though that they said that there's going to be no Falcon movie, is what Tom Holland said. He's like, they're never going to make a Falcon solo movie. So technically this is Captain America 4.
So Tom Holland has some ground to stand on here.
I think he does.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'll leave the viewers on this. Robert Downey Jr. says that he would happily return to the MCU as Iron Man. Quote, "It's too integral, a part of my DNA. That role chose me." So I guess it's never going to end. And once he's finally done acting, they will upload his face and voice to be AI Iron Man because it's too integral, part of his DNA.
Yep. I don't doubt it.
I don't doubt it, but I do doubt that people have listened this long. So if you have, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know, as we went a bit over on our time, but hopefully you got a good idea of the Fallout universe and our thoughts on it, as well as the upcoming stuff going on in the MCU, and a bit of a peek into Warner Bros. As well, as we talked about Joker, Douze Vallée. I already forgot what it is. Folie à Deux. Yeah, not even. All right, you have a Great one, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Deuces. Thanks, guys.